Good morning, dear children. Today we are going to start with a new chapter, and the name of the chapter is The Never Ending Story. Children, this story is about one of the famous ruler of India whose name was Akbar. Now, Akbar was a wise ruler, and he was liked by the people of his kingdom because he respected everyone and the other religions other than his own. He also loved art and culture and also loved to listen to good music. He was intelligent and good at solving riddles. Now, children, the characters in this story include two Hakims, Emperor Akbar and Birbal. You know what, children? In olden times, Hakims were the doctors. But these doctors were named as Hakims during that time. Now we call them what? We call them as doctors. Now let's start the story. Once Akbar fell ill. His Hakims came to see him. Hakim 1. Your Majesty, please take this medicine 3 times a day. Hakim 2. Sir, you will need to rest in bed for a few days. Akbar. I don't mind bitter medicines, but I hate staying in bed. Hakim 1. But, sir, it is important for you to rest. We will stand outside your door to make sure no one disturbs you for at least 2 days. Just 1 day later, Akbar. I'm so bored. I've nothing to do. I can't eat. I can't sleep at night. Alright. So children, once Akbar fell ill and everyone in his kingdom was worried about his health. So the courtiers of his court called the Hakims for his treatment. Now the Hakims who attended him advised the emperor to take medicines thrice a day. That means 3 times a day. And take rest in bed for few days. So Akbar did not mind bitter medicines, but what he hated was staying in bed. Now both the Hakims requested him to take rest and medicines. But just 1 day later, Akbar was so bored that he had nothing to do. He did not eat anything, nor did he sleep at night. The Hakims were worried. Hakim 1. We have to do something. His Majesty is not eating well. He is not sleeping well. This is not good for his health. Hakim 2. Yes, we have to cheer him up. I know. Someone should tell him a story every night to help him sleep. Okay. So children, because Akbar was not eating anything and he could not sleep at night, so all these things worried the people in the court. And they decided to call someone who will cheer him up, meaning who can make him happy. And should also tell him a story every night to help him sleep. At first, the plan worked well. Akbar enjoyed listening to stories. But then, he began to get upset when they ended. Akbar. What happened next? Tell me. Storyteller. The story has ended, Your Majesty. There is nothing more. Akbar. So soon? Tell me more, otherwise I'll be bored again. I can't sleep if I am bored. Hakim 2. It is so difficult to find people to tell him stories. No one knows stories that do not end. Hakim 1. What shall we do? Everyone is afraid to face the emperor. He gets so angry when the stories end. Hakim 2. It's a difficult situation. I know only of one person who can handle this problem. Only Birbal can find a solution. Hakim 1. Oh yes, Birbal is the cleverest of the emperor's ministers. I'm sure he'll find a way. His Majesty is also very fond of him. Let's request him to come. So, children, at first, this plan worked very well. Which plan? The plan of telling story every night to the king. And Akbar also enjoyed listening to stories. But then, after some time, he began to get upset when the storyteller ended his story. And it again became difficult for both the Hakims and the people who work in the court to tackle the situation or to handle the situation. And then suddenly an idea came in the mind of one of the Hakims, and he requested the cleverest ministers from the Akbar's court to attend the king. Now, who was this cleverest of the emperor's ministers? It was Birbal. What was his name? His name was Birbal. You know, Birbal was popularly known for his wit, wisdom, and humor in Akbar's court. And he was considered to be one of the most the most intelligent person in Akbar's court. Now let's see what happens next. That evening, Birbal went to Akbar and started his story. So children, on the same evening when all these people requested Birbal to come and attend the king, he came and he entered the king's room and started his never-ending story. Birbal, there was a huge peepal tree in a jungle. It was 100 years old. It was very big and many birds lived in it. Akbar, what happened then? Birbal, the birds made their nest in it. The tree had many branches. Baby birds were safe in their nests. Every morning, the birds flew out to look for food. Akbar, how many birds were there? Birbal, 500. In the morning, one bird flew out. Purr. Akbar. Then Birbal. Then the second bird flew out. Purr. Akbar. What next? Birbal. The third bird flew. Purr. Akbar. What happened after that? Birbal. The fourth bird flew away. Purr. Akbar. Oh, Birbal, how many more birds? Birbal. My king, there are 496 birds left. So then the fifth bird flew away. Purr. Akbar, stop that. Tell me what happened after they all flew away. So children, the never-ending story was about 500 birds in peepal tree. It was a silly story about how each of the bird would fly out every morning and how they would come back in the evening and how they would feed their babies and how they would fly out again the next day. Birbal, how can I do that? 500 birds fly away every morning. Purr, purr, purr. It takes very long. They then come back one by one. Then they feed their babies. Then they fly out again and come back to rest in the evening. How can I tell you what happened after they all flew away? Those birds never stopped flying. Purr, purr, purr. Akbar had no answer to that. He realized that it was silly of him to ask for a story that did not end. He stopped asking for stories and soon got well again. So children, when Akbar asked Birbal to tell him what happened after all the birds flew away, Birbal said that the story would never end, since all the 500 birds could never leave the tree together. And every time Birbal would put remark on their flying, telling him they would fly like purr and purr and purr. So Akbar had no answer to that, and he realized that it was silly for him to ask for a story that did not end. So he stopped asking for stories and soon got well again. So children, that was all about the never-ending story. Now what you have to do is that you will read the story properly and enjoy it. Thank you, children.